Okay.
Tell you that.
Welcome to the Millbury Board of Appeals, August 27, 2025. First, we got approval of minutes of March 26, 2025.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can I read the opening statement?
Yes, please do that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
This Board of Appeals meeting will be held in person at the date, time, and location listed above, which is August 27th, 2025, 7 p.m., Millbury Town Hall, 127 Elm Street, Millbury, Mass. This meeting is being recorded and streamed by Millbury Public Access Cable Television, available live on public access channels Charter 191 and Verizon 26. Meeting attendees may also participate remotely, online via Zoom or by phone. Zoom meeting ID number 83917415346. Phone number 305-224-1968. And enter meeting ID *6 to mute or unmute, https://us.2web.zoom.us/j/83917415346.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Now we'll go to approval of minutes of March 26, 2025. It's all in your packet. Take a minute to read it.
Correct typos in minutes.
Yeah? I didn't hear you.
There's a typo. Do we want to correct a typo in minutes?
Where's the typo?
I wasn't here, but the first line after the time 7:06 in bold,
Mm-hmm.
it says that the structure was raised. Is that R-A-Z-E-D? Was it torn down?
I don't see that.
Is that a structure that was torn down?
Raised. No, that's right. Raised means torn down.
Not the way that's spelled. R-A-Z-E-D.
Through the chair, I can make that correction if you just approve it with that notation.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of March 26, 2025 with corrections.
I'll second.
Okay, we have to roll call still. Mike?
Aye.
Bob?
I wasn't there.
No, you weren't there. Aye.
Aye.
Harold?
Aye.
And Derek. Okay. It's approved. Pass this around. Go that way.
Is that a pen or screwdriver?
Pass that to Mike, Bob. One. Yep. Okay, now we'll move on to the public hearing. And Mike's going to do an opening statement. Right. Just so everyone knows, us as a board, we haven't had a meeting since March. So we might be a little rusty. Been kind of quiet all summer for us. Not a bad thing.
I can get it. Give me 2 minutes.
Just one moment, please, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Like you're looking for my book right now, right? Did I have that paper on? You can't hear me. You had a copy of that?
I don't
Opening
know.
statement. I keep it in my book, and my book is at home. I have, take me forever to find it. I don't know how to find it in my phone. I don't have a folder. I'd have to go through like 10,000 pictures.
Does he have it?
I think,
Oh, yeah.
Caleb.
Yeah. Oh, you should give it to everybody.
Mike, you need that statement.
Yeah, no, I need the advertisement to read into the record.
Oh, it's in here, isn't it? I already saw an advertisement in here, but that might have been from past years.
No, it wasn't in that packet.
So we're in just a waiting pattern because we're missing a piece of paper that Mike needs for him to read a statement. There it is. Perfect.
Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing in accordance with Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Zoning Ordinances of the Town of Millbury on Wednesday, August 27th, 2025 at 7 p.m. A public hearing will be held at the Millbury Town Hall at 127 Elm Street, Millbury, Mass. 01527, to act on a petition from the applicant, Catherine Fairbanks, trustee of the Fairbanks Family Irrevocable Trust, 5 McGrath Road, Millbury, Mass. 01527. The applicant is appealing a decision of the Millbury Building Inspector in accordance with Millbury zoning bylaw section 13.23 relative to the inspector's written denial of the applicant's request for enforcement of the Millbury zoning bylaws by issuing a cease and desist of commercial activities at 269 West Main Street, Millbury, Mass. 01527, map 84, lot 13. All interested parties are invited to attend. Ken Perro, Chairman. Publication dates August 7th, 2025 and August 14th, 2025. Having complied with the provisions of Chapter 48 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts relative to advertising and notifying abutters, this meeting is declared officially open. All decisions of this board are final, except as provided in Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Thank you, Mike. So now we would hear from the applicant, Catherine Fairbanks, of 5 McGrath Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Henry Lane, and I'm here on behalf of Catherine Fairbanks this evening to represent her with respect to this appeal. And I have to say, I haven't had the pleasure of your company since the Rice Road situation.
You look familiar.
And we're hoping for better results in this occasion. But in any event, I suspect you have copies of the application in front of you. This is one of these issues that many boards don't deal with very often. But nevertheless, it is a provision in the general laws that provides that if an individual in the town requests enforcement of the zoning bylaws and they are unsuccessful in obtaining enforcement, that there's recourse by an appeal to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And under the statute, the zoning board has all the powers of the building inspector in acting on an appeal. And the request before you is our appeal and request that the board issue a cease and desist order requiring that the operation of Rogers cease with respect to the non-permitted activities. As is outlined in our written submission, the property at 269 West Main Street is zoned in the suburban zoning district, which is primarily a residential zone, although due to some anomaly, apparently, because of the history of the property, one of the permitted uses in addition to residential uses is flower shops. And I'm advised, although I certainly don't have personal memory, of the fact that apparently there was once a flower shop at 269 West Main Street. Maybe some of you are old enough to remember that. I am not. In any event, what we currently find is that the operations on the property at this point have expanded dramatically beyond a flower shop, and to my knowledge, there's no longer flowers being sold at that location. What we have, in fact, is a major commercial operation which does several things. One of the primary businesses now being conducted is the distribution of pellets and other sorts of apparently combustible materials. And apparently, as I understand it, pellets come in large tractor loads, trailer trucks basically, and are then distributed locally or available for sale on the premises. In addition to that, there's significant amounts of wood chips and related sorts of landscaping material, as well as stone and other materials such as that. And as I say, it's one thing to have the retail operation, which in and of itself is, in our view at least, not permitted under the zoning bylaws. But the real issue and the real problem here is that this has become a very large operation, and it's become a nuisance because we have tractor trailers coming and going, and we have loading equipment as well running all hours of the day and into the night. And if anybody's ever, lived next to a facility like that and gets to listen to backup alarms every evening, it becomes incredibly annoying, and that's essentially what we have here. Ms. Fairbanks is in a butter. I guess we call it to the west of the property, an immediate abutter, and basically is presented not only with the trailer truck traffic and all the other retail activities, but listening to the backup alarms, every night as they shift around the wood pellets. So in addition to the activity I've mentioned, we also now have actually trailer truck trailers parked on the site, again, which in our view is not it's not a residential use certainly, and therefore wouldn't be permitted. So in any event, we did approach the building inspector with a request for enforcement, suggesting that in our view this was not a permitted use and asking him to issue a cease and desist order, and he declined to do that. And as I understand it, and I think you have the letter in front of you from him, where he basically takes the position that this is a pre-existing use. And frankly, we disagree. As I say, it's not a permitted use, and we could find no evidence that the the use of the premises predates the adoption of zoning in the town of Millbury. That being the case, it's not a pre-existing non-conforming use that's permitted. And the only permitted use is general agricultural uses, residential uses, and the flower shop. As I say, we looked at the material submitted by the building inspector, and he submitted dozens of pages of material, but none of it suggests that there was a commercial use of the premises prior to the adoption of zoning in the town. There was a building permit issued at one point for a building, a barn, I guess you would call it, and the permit application specified that it was going to be used for grain storage. So to the extent there was any pre-existing use that was permitted, it would have been grain storage. And we're not complaining that there's grain storage being conducted on the premises. I'm not aware that there is any grain storage, but that's not what we're complaining about. We're complaining about the other activity that we've identified. So we also looked through the record into from our research, we didn't find any special permit that would have allowed any pre-existing operations to be altered or changed to allow what's currently allowed. Now, again, looking at the building inspector's denial of a request for enforcement, it appears that it's based on his understanding that the existing operation has been there for more than 10 years. And I think that it's a misunderstanding. There is no question that the statute of limitations under the zoning act is 10 years with respect to buildings. So if you get a building and you put up a building and nobody says anything about it for 10 years, you can't be forced to remove the building. But that's not what we're requesting here. We're not asking that a building be removed. We're asking that a use, an unpermitted use be terminated. There is no statute of limitations for illegal uses. It doesn't matter how long you conduct an illegal use, there's no statute of limitations. Unless you get a building permit for that particular use, then you can use the building for the illegal use. That didn't happen here. As I indicated, the building permit that was issued was for grain storage, which in my view is probably a permitted use, because that would fall within the category of agriculture. If you were storing grain to feed your cows, that's okay, that's permitted. And maybe that happened originally, but that's not what's currently happening. As I said, I don't know if there's ever been grain storage, but that's not what's currently happening. As I say, what's happening now is essentially wholesale and retail distribution of pellets, for apparently as a heating source, as well as a distribution of landscaping materials, including various kinds of stone, mulch, et cetera. And as I indicated, none of those are pre-existing non-conforming uses. None of them are permitted by either variance or special permit, and in our view are not only a nuisance, but just basically illegal. With that being said, although the building inspector, I think, misunderstood how the statute of limitations works, I think that I have every confidence that this board properly understands how the pre-existing non-conforming use process works, and that this use does not fall within that category, and therefore we are requesting that this board issue a cease and desist order requiring that all unpermitted uses be terminated forthwith. With that, we are happy to answer any questions the board may have.
The primary purpose for this meeting was because of sound, or is other neighbors upset with what's going on? I'm just trying to figure out try to clarify. I wasn't even sure in your documents you did 80 pages. That was quite impressive, but I don't see where what you were trying to make a point to say. You mentioned the noises from the backup and the truck use, which is you're aware this is a farm, right? It's in the farm 61A.
I believe that's the case. I'm not sure. I believe part of it is and part of it is not. I don't believe the commercial activity is in a 61A category. The backland may be. But in any event, to answer your question, is that the only issue? No. The commercial use is basically illegal. You know, for better or for worse, the voters of the town of Millbury made some decisions about what uses were going to be permitted, and people in good faith, you know, bought residential properties in that neighborhood, and they're entitled to enforcement. Now, as I said earlier, the immediate impetus of the process was, yeah, it's at night, you hear backup alarms into the night, and trailer trucks moving in and out, and, you know, basically heavy equipment moving around, which I suspect if you were living in that neighborhood and adjacent to this property, you wouldn't want to listen to backup alarms. But that's what zoning is intended to do. It's intended to create zones so that people who buy residential property in residential zones are not annoyed by backup alarms and trailer trucks and loading equipment and all the side effects of commercial activity. You know, that's why we have zoning. If the operator wants to conduct this kind of business, he's perfectly entitled to do that, but the town has decided that those kinds of activities have to be done in certain zones that are designed and zoned for business and commercial or industrial use. This isn't one of those zones. He wants to conduct this business legally, it has to be moved to a location that was zoned by the town for that particular use. So, even if it wasn't making any noise, it would still be illegal, and we would still be entitled to enforcement.
So I went down that road, and then Sunday, and this tractor trailers I see parked on the side of the roads. I'm very impressed by that because nobody's complaining. I don't know whose they are, and I don't know how often they're there, but I've been watching them show up and leave. So is he got the only trailer that people are complaining about? Or are there other trailers and it's just become a highway?
No,
This is McGrath Road.
yeah, I understand that,
This
well,
is Sunday at 6:03.
yeah, I wasn't there Sunday at 6:03.
I was.
I don't
On
know
McGrath
what was
Road?
going on that
Yes.
particular day, but
But that's
I-
that's a low bed, that's not a
You
trailer.
sh- Oh, you
But
got
it's still a tractor trailer.
It sure is.
Yep.
so I don't know what the situation was at that moment.
I'm just trying to figure out
But in
where
the
this is going.
past, you know, reviewing aerial photos and
Do we have any? Could you share those?
I don't with me,
Does anybody?
We'll get to it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
but I've noticed that from the aerial photos that we've examined, there are trailers parked on the property, at least periodically, apparently being used for storage.
There were what? I'm sorry.
There's trailer boxes on the property that are being used for storage. I don't know if it's pellets or something else, but trailer bodies are
Are you talking
periodically.
about the trailers that sit on the ground, like a Connex box, a steel box?
No,
Storage?
I believe that they're on wheels.
And are they temporary or are they movable?
I suspect they're movable, but that's not the point. You're not allowed to park trailer trucks in your residential zone.
No, I know it's not the point, but the facts, you know, we're on a fact-finding mission right
Yep.
now. So the more we get info, we have questions, because we're not familiar 100%. So that's why I'm asking.
Can I ask a question?
Yes? You-
Sir, is your client new to the neighborhood, Mrs. Fairbanks?
No,
She's been there how long?
many years.
How's mine's many?
1962.
62? Okay.
That's not so many.
You're right, it's not that many. No, but go ahead. Harold, go ahead, finish. You got more questions?
And I was a little confused when I read this. That's why I brought it up to start.
Right.
You mentioned like 4 different illegal, legal standards. And I went through them, and I can only see how one applies, and I don't understand why you use them as a reference to this case. So I was trying to figure it out. I made hundreds of notes, and Post-its and stickies, and AI, which gave me a lot of great information that clarified a lot. But, like, can you explain when this is drifting off, but you put it in here, and you made this a point, and you mentioned it twice in the 80 pages that you gave us. So Wendy's Old Fashioned Hamburgers versus Bill Recker. what's going on in that neighborhood apply?
What's going on?
Yeah, like how, you referenced these, and you mentioned that they're Chapter 40A, Section 7, and everything says it's not relevant to Chapter 40A, Section 7. They said it wasn't even used in the case law at the time. That was for a secondary, it was a modification to a special permit access to a second entrance when the state took over the rights of road and encroached on their property, I believe. So I'm trying to figure out, maybe I don't understand why these are in here. And it's drifting me off
Well,
everywhere.
because that's a statute that authorizes appeals from a building inspector.
It's basic, wouldn't that be 9?
No, 9 are special permits.
And then 8, let me see.
7 and 8 are the ones that
Special-
authorize the
Exact.
building inspector to make decisions and provides that, for the enforcement process.
Yeah, it says 8 to 10 was used,
Yeah.
and 14 to 17. But it says, according to what I'm reading, that's what I'm trying to figure out, you're reading your side of the rules, but I'm trying to get confused, trying not to get confused by what you're doing. It says, enforcement of limitation periods, bringing enforcement actions, an issue that was not at stake in Wendy's. So it wasn't about the 10 years or the 6 years, and that's what 7 is.
Yeah,
So 7 is not just about enforcement, it's about the 6 and 10 years.
yeah, there's.
So it's in there, I'm just,
Yeah,
I'll
there's-
shut up
there's-
and,
There's two sets of limitations. There's a 6-year
Right.
statute of limitations if you obtain a building permit,
Right.
okay? If you don't obtain a building permit, the statute of limitations extends to 10 years.
Right.
But it doesn't really matter if it's 6 or 10 with respect to uses. The 6 and 10 statute of limitations applies only to structures, okay? If you manage to keep your structure up for 10 years, the building inspector can no longer order you to remove it. He can still control what you do with it, but he can't order you to tear it down, okay? So if you've got your building permit, he's got 6 years to order you to tear it down. If you don't get a building permit, you got 10 years. Well, in this case, at least with respect to the barn structure, there was a building permit. I think it was 2015 or whatever, 10 years or so ago. There was a building, and it was renovated at some point. So we're not arguing about the building.
No,
The
I-
building can stay. We're not asking the building to be removed. All we're saying is that the statute of limitations with regard to the building doesn't matter. We're not asking you to enforce the tearing down the building. We're saying, we're asking you to enforce the bylaw with respect to the use only.
right, but can I read your
Sure.
document? These are yours, right?
Yep.
So it says, chapter 40, I would believe it's like 5 different
Yeah,
documents.
say which page and which topic. it's
Okay,
under.
let me see if it's got,
So it's
if
on the
it's
record.
numbered. Yeah, I don't know if it's numbered. It's not numbered, so I can't tell you.
No, but you can,
But the heading on this is memorandum of law.
okay.
Yep.
Right, and it might be like page 5, but it says here, Chapter 40A, Section 7 imposes 10-year statutes, this is your writing,
Yeah.
statute of limitations on enforcement of zoning violations related to use of the land or structure.
Right.
That's your words.
Yeah.
It says use.
Read this footnote at the end. 10-year limitations.
That's on this case. No, I mean, that's in this case here, this case law. Bruno versus Tisbury. Do you see where I'm referencing it? I'm just trying to get a clear understanding, because you contradicted yourself, or maybe I just misunderstood you. So if you could clarify it.
Well, if you read, if you read the last sentence there, or the last line, actually, you'll see it says the 10-year limitations period does not apply to actions alleging only use violations. So the distinction, as I thought I made clear, is that the 10-year statute of limitations applies to actions that request the removal of buildings. So if your building manages to stay up for 10 years, the town can no longer require you to remove the building, even if it was built illegally. But as that last line points out, the 10-year limitation period does not apply to use violations. So we're not requesting enforcement we're not asking you to order the building to be torn down. We're asking you to stop the property from being used for purposes that it's not zoned to be used for. There is no statute of limitations with respect to uses.
Through the chair, just had a quick question. This business has been here for a long time, and I was just wondering what changed recently that broke, like, what changed that's causing a problem? Is it the pellets? Is it,
The pellets have been there for a
or is
period
it
of
just
time. It's
because?
At some point, you just get fed up, you know?
Can I go back to the question I asked earlier about Mrs. Fairbanks here? She said she's been at the property since 1962.
Yeah.
A little bit more clarification on that 1962. Were you born in 1962? Did you go to school for maybe?
My father built his house in 1960.
Did you move from this location at any point in your life and go live somewhere else and then come back because your family, now the house is yours? That's all I want to know.
Why is that relevant?
I just want to know, did you leave the property for any length of time, and now you're back to the property, it's your property now, and that's why we're having this litigation tonight about this business that's been there for a very long time. That's all I'm saying.
Been on McGrath Road mostly all my life.
You gotta come up to the podium. You have to state your name and your address that you live at.
My
now.
name is Catherine Fairbanks. I live at 5 McGrath Road. I'm also the trustee for 7, and I own number 19 McGrath Road. I was born at number 5, lived there until I left for 6 years after I got married in 1982. I returned to McGrath Road in 1989. Is that it? Okay.
Does that answer your question?
That's good. It's a little bit more clarification about,
Yeah.
the business has been serving the town of Millbury for a long time, and there's a lot of Millbury residents, our customers, and that's all. They deserve to know why this is
Okay.
all being brought forward.
Good question. Harold, any more questions?
I'd like to hear from everybody,
How
but
about
maybe.
Adam?
Yeah.
I assume we're going to be hearing from
Yep.
the business owner. That's who I have my questions for. You've explained well, so I have no questions.
Okay.
Mr.
Mike?
Chairman, just one question for Mr. Lane. How would you define agricultural use or other agricultural use?
Well, it typically requires growing plants or animals.
So animal husbandry
Yeah.
would be...
And I suspect you're familiar with how it works. In Massachusetts, there is a special exemption in the zoning bylaws for farm stands. So if you are an operating farm, you are allowed to sell the produce that you produce on your farm on the site. So if you have a farm, you can sell milk, you can sell corn, you can sell things that you grow, and in fact, the way the bylaw works, where the statute works, you can even wholesale some material, but some percentage has to be generated locally. So you can have a farm stand, but farm stands have to be related to what you're doing on the property. So, if the landowner has cows, he's operating a legitimate farm. He can sell milk, he can sell eggs, agricultural types of products on a farm stand. You can't sell rocks, okay? That's not an agricultural product. That's, you can't run a wholesale and retail pellet business unless you grow the pellets on the property, and even then, you may not be able to do it because you'd have to process them. But pellets typically aren't an agricultural product. It's like lumber. You can't sell lumber on and call it a farm stand. That's sort of the distinction. I don't think he's arguing that he's a farm stand unless he's growing rocks, and I don't think he's doing that, And I don't think he's growing the pellets. I understand that one of the problems here is that, he's wholesaling pellets. They're coming in trailer trucks and going out in either smaller trucks or at the retail end of things, and they come in on trailers. They get unloaded with some kind of tractor forklift kind of device, and get unloaded, get reloaded, and have backup alarms. And that occurs, into the evening. And it's, as I say, nobody's trying to put him out of business. He's entitled to run his business legally, but he's got to do it in a zone that the town has decided is appropriate for commercial activity. And this isn't one of them. This is a residential zone where people are expected to experience a certain amount of quiet and peace. And that's not available at this point on McGrath Road.
So you don't feel as though what you do to him is going to put him out of business?
I don't know. I hope he can find a legal place to conduct the business. I wish him well. I don't know the gentleman. I have no personal animosity to him whatsoever. We're just requesting that he move his business to a place where it can legally be conducted.
And what's the solution for that?
Do I have a solution? I have not looked
We
into.
have a problem, but we don't have a solution.
If I may have, Mr. Lane, it's actually right to that point.
I was just asking him a question, so, hold on. That's my question. I'm just curious.
Are you asking me whether there's property in the town of
No,
Millbury where you
no,
could
like-
legitimately conduct
Harold
this?
asked a question about
I'm
possibly
sorry.
putting a business out of business.
No, we're not
So,
trying to,
like, I'm just curious if, maybe you can't answer it.
I can't, all I can reiterate what I said earlier, the voters of the town have decided that there's certain places in this town where you can conduct commercial activity, and there are certain places in this town where you are not allowed to conduct commercial activity. I didn't make that decision, you didn't make that decision. That's a decision made by the voters of the town of Millbury many years ago. And the voters decided you could have a flower shop here. They decided you were not allowed to have, the kind of commercial activity that's currently being conducted. They could have, but they didn't. They said, this is a suburban residential zone. And you have industrial zones and commercial zones in the town. The voters have decided where those zones are. I can't off the top of my head tell you exactly where they are, but I'm aware that they exist. And, that's where this kind of activity has to be conducted.
Okay.
Mr. Lane, I'd like to go back to my question about agricultural use.
Yeah.
You drive by the premises, and they've got big signs up. I believe they say Blue Seal Foods, which I think is cow feed. I'm not a farmer, I don't know. So if they're selling feed and grain and bedding, why is that not, why do you see a distinction between that and a permitted agricultural use? Because if you have a cow and it's the middle of winter, you have to keep the animals warm. So that's where the pellets would come in. In my mind, I just see these all as overarching supplies supporting agriculture. So why am I seeing this wrong, in your
Yeah, I think
opinion?
if you extend that, you'd be able to sell tractors, you'd be able to sell gas, you'd be able to sell all kinds of motor fuels, and, grain harvesting equipment. There's a distinction between operating a farm, which I think we all understand. That means you either have cows or goats or pigs or whatever, or you grow things, or you do both. But they don't involve retail sales of tractors or combines or plows. And that is not agriculture activity. That's retail or wholesale activity. So agriculture requires you to grow things or take care of animals, not to retail equipment that you might need for farming.
But these are all natural products. I see your distinction, but we're talking about hay, I presume, feed, even the wood pellets. I mean, God makes it, we don't.
Well, they're manufactured, and they're used, as I understand it, they're used for heating.
Right.
So on the earth there, you'd be able to put a fuel or gas business there. You could take the gas company that's on 146 and say, okay, you can come here because, you're selling gas that can be used for heating, and you might have a barn, and therefore you might be using it to keep your cows warm. That's not going to fly. If you want to sell, bottled gas or any kind of motor fuel, the fact that somebody might use it on a farm doesn't make it farm use. And I would suspect, there may be a lot of farms in Millbury I'm not aware of, but I suspect that there aren't enough farms in the town of Millbury to use all the pellets that are being sold at 269 West Main Street. But prove me wrong.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Because I did kind of want to find out if there were other places similar to his that do sell other things. And this place is called Great Road Farm and Garden, okay? And they do power equipment, bulk delivery, rental equipment, propane, feeds, bulk materials, agricultural uses.
Where is this?
Littleton, Mass.
What are they zoned?
I have no idea.
It's farm zoned. If you look it up.
I have no idea what the Littleton bylaws allow or don't allow, or whether they have some sort of pre-existing status. It's hard to say.
But I do agree with what he's saying next to me, is that it's an overlap of agricultural uses.
I disagree, but that's okay. Doesn't mean you're wrong.
Right.
Can I make one more point?
Sure.
You mentioned the voters of the town of
Yep.
Millbury.
Yep.
That's who we are here about, all the voters, everybody in Millbury. There's a lot of people who use the services, have been using the services of this gentleman for many years, many years. Doesn't matter who's convenienced by the usage of Rogers for pellets, for stone, for hay, for whatnot. Whatever he's been doing for a long time. And it seems to me like a handful of people have come here and they're up in arms now because there's a little bit of noise. I think maybe some chatter with the owner here of the business to maybe make sure that the operating hours aren't being overextended. Maybe some middle ground can be found here to, appease everybody, because at the end of the day, we're here for everybody, not just a handful of people. That's our business.
I
Right,
understand completely.
so our mission, Bob, is, and that's good, our mission is to hear the hearing that
Right,
the
right,
applicant
right.
has presented in front of us.
Like I said, you
So-
talked about the voters, and I just
Yeah.
wanted
No, I
to
got you.
add that.
Yep. Okay, Ms. Lane.
Thank you.
The gentleman in the back wanted to talk. Do you still want to come up and talk?
I apologize. I was trying to speak to Lorraine to advise me for a moment. My apologies.
Oh, okay. I didn't know who you were with or what, so I had to do my thing. I'm assuming that the applicant is now done talking, and we can talk with Rogers Farm and Seed, if you have a representative or whoever's going to speak for you to come up. You got to state your name and address for the record.
Roger Cormier, 50 South Oxford Road, Millbury, Mass. So I don't really want to speak. I would rather answer all your questions, and I'm sure I have answers for every one of them. So whoever wants to go first, ask the questions.
Has there been any changes recently?
No, we have been, I took over the feed store, which I have a picture of it the day I took it over, in 1991. So I've been there for 34 and a half years. I'm going to pass that around to you. This was when Tom Henley's signs were still up in the building. Tom Henley built that building for a feed store in 1958.
Go back to the podium.
Tom Henley built that building in 1958 for a feed store. Him and his wife ran it throughout his life. He actually died while he was still doing that business. Mr. Pearson bought the property because there's a lot of hayland that goes with it, and he happened to be one of my customers because I wholesaled hay, shavings, and grain. I had always wanted the store, and I approached Bob 2 or 3 times over a course of a few months after he bought it, and he agreed to rent it to me. And we've had a handshake deal on that rent for 34 and a half years. And I have run the business as a 2 or 3 person operation the entire time. Today, I run it with my daughter.
So in your
It's
view,
only-
nothing.
it's 2 of us.
Yeah, so in your view, nothing has really changed as of lately? Nothing, more trucks, nothing like it, same use you've been
In-
doing?
In that picture, you'll see 2 of my trailers beside the building because we were just moving in there.
Which one of those is?
And we were working on the building. I have always had 1 trailer truck, and I've had 1 delivery truck. Never any more than that. You know, there might be a few extra trailers around. We haul hay out of Canada and New York. We haul hay, shavings out of Maine and Canada, and trailers come in and out. But in the end of it, we're not a big giant corporation. We're a father-daughter team. You know, that's basically it. Has sales grown? Yes. Over the years, I think what maybe is the biggest problem here, in this case, Ms. Fairbanks has been running her business right across the street from mine, through the woods, for the last 30, 35 years, running a rubbish removal company at her house. With trucks going up and down the road on a constant basis, there's at least 25, 30 roll-off dumpsters in her yard now. But yet, because she has sold her business, all of a sudden, she's got an axe to grind with me being there. All of a sudden, she wants the neighborhood to be quiet, but she's been there making noise all this time. There's plenty of neighbors that would attest to that.
Does she
So-
still have equipment there?
There's tons of equipment there. If you Google it, you can see it.
At 5 McGrath?
Huh?
What address is that at? 5.
And she also has a whole bunch of equipment at her father's house.
19.
I have some pictures on my phone that somebody had given me from drone photos of it. You guys would be astonished at what's there. It's a conservation nightmare, but nobody seems to bother her. But all of a sudden, my backup alarm is a big problem. Now, one of the things when you ask me what changed, nothing really changed in size, but one thing has changed is as I've bought newer equipment, the newer equipment has come with backup alarms. And it's my thoughts that I have to run them. If I could shut them off, I would. If somebody gives me a law that says I can shut them off or disconnect them, I certainly will. As far as the trucks coming in and out of the property, I can't do anything. That's DOT laws, they have to have it. But the truck comes in, it backs up, and it shuts off, it gets loaded, and it leaves. But how much are we really doing as a 2-person operation? I could never afford to move that business somewhere else. I've spent 34 and a half years of my life building that business, and we just squeak by.
Any other questions?
How big is the lot?
The lot is roughly about 2 acres, isn't it, Bob, altogether, that's used for the store?
If I go
can-
online and I look up that address, it looks like it's 32-acre lot. Is that a different lot?
All the other land, they're farming with hay. There's about 15 acres of hay, and there's about 17 acres of wooded property.
But it's one lot.
It's one lot.
So that acreage is the land that's in 61A, the hay and the other one you mentioned?
That would be the Pearson's question. Mine is the little window out on the road.
Okay.
Is that part of that same land? Is that part of the Pearson land?
Yes, they own the land. I just rent from them.
So where your section is, that's 61A too?
No.
Okay.
So his 2 acres or so is not in the 61A.
Okay, as far as the building, we do store hay in it, we store shavings in it, we store wood pellets in it, we store grain in it, in both buildings, matter of fact. We sell hay for horses, cows, grain for every animal you have, from rabbits to guinea pigs to goats, you name it, we sell it. Our wood pellets are used predominantly for heat, but they are also used for bedding too, so there's quite a few animals that bed their horses with wood pellets. Shavens are a big business. That's all bedding for horses and cows.
Do you know whether there's a flower shop that was operating on that property? Were you involved with that, or?
Now, Tom Henley did a lot of different things out of that building over the years. You can tell from that picture, there's a sign, he was a Glidden paint dealer, so he was a little hardware store. The name of the company was TJ Henley and Wagon Wheel Tack Shop. So he used to sell a lot of tack, horses, bridles, saddles, everything his entire life. And Kathy knows this because she grew up next to it.
Do you know when that was about, or when it started?
That was from 58 to when I took it over, or till he passed away. He passed away in 1989.
And how long have you been selling pellets?
Since 1996,
How about mulch?
since the day I opened,
Which was, I'm sorry, when was it?
1991,
And stone?
1991.
Do you have how many tractor-trailer deliveries are there being made per whatever time period you can tell me?
Throughout the course of the year, we may be bringing about 150 trailer loads of product.
And is that all for retail, or is it being wholesaled?
That's all retail.
Is there any wholesale going on?
No.
What are your hours of operation?
The actual store hours are Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to 1. Now, that said, we're never in before 9 o'clock. I usually get back 5:30 at night, whether I'm coming back from Maine with a load of pellets or shavings. I'm unloading the truck so I can leave again the next morning. I'm always in the truck. My daughter's always in the store.
So how late are you generally working, unloading, if you get there at the end of the day?
7 o'clock, 7:30.
That's usually when you're done by?
Yeah, I try to be really quiet if it runs later than that, especially now.
So the type of trailer that you have, does it just push the stuff out, or does it lift up and dump it and you pull forward and it's empty?
The trailer loads that come in that are bark mulch, they do push out. Trailer loads that I do are either a box trailer that I'm hauling shavings in, or a flatbed trailer where I'm unloading with a fork truck off the side.
Is there grain storage on the premises?
Yes.
How much grain?
We probably stock altogether 10 to 12 ton at a time, maybe
that-
a little more than that.
Is
That's
that
all.
bags, or is that?
That's bagged pelletized grain.
How many buildings are on the non-61A?
2.
The one in that picture?
Yes.
And what's the other one? Do I have a picture?
Right here.
It's on here.
Oh, we got one there, yeah, I'm good.
Adam, the one in the front is the storage.
Yeah.
Is the one the one with the porch, is that the store?
That's a store. The porch is no longer on it, but
Right.
that was originally 34 years ago.
And the other building that's further back?
Out back was the building that was built new. I had just got to the store. I was renovating the building. In 1991, Hurricane Bob came through and leveled the building. So I tore it all down by hand. I rebuilt a new building, which Bob Pearson actually pulled the permit for back then in 91. And that's the building that has the grain storage in it.
And
And
the
I
other,
have pictures of that the back building being leveled out.
Do-
This was the original back building while I was renovating it. And this was the building after Hurricane Bob, and I disassembled it and started from scratch.
so this photo is the back building, one that's further back?
That's the one that got leveled.
In the front
They're
or the back?
passing one around. And here is the back building. You can see both buildings in this picture, and this was the one I replaced in 91.
Right, but this one was the one in the front or the one in the
That
back?
was the one in back originally. That's
Okay.
the one that got leveled. You can see I was installing. the new-
When was this one? Would you know when this was built? Before, prior to you getting there?
No, I was there as a 29-year-old kid in 1991, so not much of the history do I know. I do know that if you came and looked at the concrete on the back of the main store, it says T.J. Heinley on it, 1958. Written in his finger. And we tried to get a picture of that today. You did. And we can tell if you're right up close, you're not going to tell in the picture. You could see the 8 and the 5, but
So, you're saying that the TJ Henley has been there since 1958. Both buildings were built by them originally.
yes.
He was a wagon wheel repair, or whatever that means. a
Wagon Wheel
tack-
Tack Shop, that meant he sold saddles, bridles, all the things that people would use. Or if you were having a team of cows or draft horses, he was selling all that. He was a real wheeler dealer, doing a lot of auctions, and, he was there his whole lifetime. It's pretty ironic that in the last almost 70 years, two people have run that same business, each of us from being young men right to old age.
Okay.
There was one picture, I don't know where it went to, but it said propane. They sell propane there?
That was Pro-Plan.
Oh, Pro-Plan,
Pro-Plan
okay.
is a dog food.
Okay. I didn't know, I couldn't read it because it was kind of fuzzy.
And we
Through the
did
chair.
sell propane at one point. If we look back in the pictures, we could probably find that.
Yeah.
And then I sold Blue Rhino for a while, but currently we don't have any propane on site.
Through the chair, I do have a permit from the Millbury Fire Department from 2011 to permit the Blue Rhino sales of propane.
Okay. Any other questions from the board to,
Attorney Lane had mentioned a building permit for the grain storage, I think that's in the packet. Do you know of any other building permits that were issued for this property?
No, because the other property owner, I'm not.
I should, yeah.
Through the chair, it should be in your packet, there's a permit from 2015. Lists the use group as B for business.
Is that the pellet stoves?
Description
one
of
I'm
work
looking
is
at myself.
modifications and upgrades to install a pellet stove at the front store.
Yeah. No
That's
other,
our heating source.
no other building permits that you know of, though?
No,
This-
those are the only two I found.
And off the top of your head, do you know when the Millbury zoning bylaw first came into effect?
1957.
Thank you.
so I have another permit that's got October 22nd, 2015. It says B business, but at the bottom it says rebuild 60 by 12 roof porch damaged by winter conditions.
Okay,
So that's a different permit.
so that's different.
So there's two, maybe they're different dates. What's the date on yours?
Mine is from December 29th, 2015 for the pellet stove in the store.
Yeah, yours is from 2016.
I have one from 12/18/15
So the-
that says B business, install pellet stove at front of store, direct vent. That's another building permit.
That's the same permit. Permit number 2015-556 or 558?
558 is one and
558.
468 is another one.
Yep.
Two different dates. So these were all submitted by Mr. Lane, these permits, correct?
No, so I included in the packets
Okay.
the entire file for the property address, everything I was able to find.
Yeah, that's 558. Okay, that's, any other questions?
I'm good.
Mike?
Nope.
Bob? Nope, I don't have any. So we will open up to the public next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. King has got his hand up first.
Good evening. Francis King, 92 South Oxford Road. I've lived in this area all my life. Back in '58, when Mr. Heinley took this building, started this business, he was there until he passed in 1989, I believe it was. And at that time, it was told to the person that was watching over his estate that this could not be closed down or it would go back to residential. So at that time, somebody else ran the business for those 2 years until Roger took it over, and there was never an interruption in this business since 1958 into the present time. And there's a saying out there that he who lives in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And this is a good example. Roger has been, for years, as you said, taking care of the town. I don't see a lot of complaints as far, if he stays in the parameters of not bringing it beyond the hours, I don't see an issue myself. And like I said, I've been here since a little bit longer than Kathy, but I won't say how much longer. And that place has always been there as long as I can remember. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? This gentleman had his hand up first, so we'll take you first. State your name and address for the record.
Robert Badia, 276 West Main Street. I live 3 houses down from Rogers. I can't believe we're even sitting here doing this. I don't hear a beeper. I see him over there. I have more problems with what goes down McGrath Road than I do what's going on at Rogers. He's a working man. He's just trying to keep his business going, just like the rest of us. I can't understand why all of a sudden now the beeping's. Last Sunday, I'm sitting out on the porch. I look over, and there goes Dirty Girl dumpsters down the road, and they're beeping into the yard. So I'm sitting there saying, she's complaining about the beeping, yet she's had a business that had beeping for her entire life, between her and her husband. I just don't understand why we're at this juncture with what's going on over there. Coming from somebody that's a neighbor right down the road, I don't have an issue with any of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir?
Yeah, Stephen Walensky, 13 Dolan Road. Question I had was more for the town council. I mean, every one of the town meetings that we go to, there's always a zoning issue that comes out and that changes constantly throughout the years. When I first moved to West Millbury in 1972, it was farmland. They had the Chip Sharon farm up there. Of course, you had Bob Pearson's farm. You had, the Anderson orchards were there. The Stowe orchards are still there. That whole area in West Millbury was farmland and farm community, and it was just a wonderful place to go into. I wish I could have closed the door behind me when I moved there. But the question is the zoning question, and that seemed to have been a very significant issue with the attorney that was speaking here earlier. And at every town meeting, we do a zoning change of some sort or another. The question I have is whether there's a grandfathering that possibly exists. Obviously, in the 70s and 60s, that was farmland. And I'm not sure how the zoning goes and how the changes occur and whether or not there's a grandfathering allowed during that transition or those transitions. I know right now I'm in a residential development. Yes, that's what happened with the Anderson orchards. And so what questions I have about that, that's really my question as to whether there's leeway for the zoning to be ignored to a degree or grandfathered.
Right, so I think the complaint is not necessarily 100% zoning. It's more of a use. I think
Okay, well,
The
to
applicant
that
is complaining about the use of the property.
and the noise that's developed. To that issue, it's interesting that that comes up. This past 45 days, a fellow a neighbor of mine actually had done some work with his graders and stuff. And for 2 days straight, I had to listen to the backup. And looking at the overlay, the distance between his working and the zone, and on the weekends too, this was annoying. It was, trust me, it was. And this past weekend, there was another one that was doing some work not too far away from me. And it is difficult to accept, but the question I had is, how far does that beeping noise go, and how annoying can it get? Looking at the issues brought by the claimant here, or the distance between Rogers and the industrial property on McGrath Road and that property down to my house or to the house is about equidistant. And I'm wondering whether there's other beeping noises that are also being heard in the neighborhood beside just Roger when Roger's there. And this is on the weekends too, and then I have it. But, okay, I think I've
Thank you.
overdone it. Sorry.
Thank you. Come on up. Name and address.
Good evening, Josh Gagnon, 122 Snow Road, West Brookfield, Mass. I'm Roger's son-in-law.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring attention in regard to the backup alarms. So my day job, I work for Hearn Equipment in Spencer. We're a construction and agricultural dealership. I'm a road mechanic for them. So I travel all over New England working on pieces of machinery at residential sites and commercial sites, union sites, whatever you want to call it. From a technical standpoint, yes, every backup alarm can be disarmed, put a switch in, whatever you want. The problem occurs when you have an OSHA person or a safety person come on site. It is required by OSHA that an audible alarm is displayed while a vehicle is backing up, especially where there's public, children, people walking around. Considering that this is a business where there's customers coming in and out, and it's a 1 or 2 person operation, Emily or Roger, they're busy. Having that audible there it's a safety feature for all those involved. That's all I want to say on that.
Thank you. Anyone else in the? Come on up, sir.
The cripple.
You're
Malik
moving,
Bilal
you're
at,
moving pretty good.
I'm Malik Bilal, 339 West Main Street, and actually, listening, I'd like to address, I think Mr. Perro's observation that this is a use issue, and Mr. George, his questions have to do with really semantics, which comes down to what's agricultural. And the attorney has his opinion as to what is agricultural, and obviously other people have. But I can speak to this in this regard. The Milby Sutton Chronicle started in '86. And '89, when Mr. Heinley died, the Sharons took over for a couple of years. And when they did, they advertised in the paper. It was advertised as Heinley's Feed and Grain. Then when Mr. Rogers took it over, he advertised in the paper, and it was advertised as Rogers Feed and Grain. And so for that amount of time, that's what it has been. So now it comes down to, the lawyer says, well, that's not agricultural, and yet on the other hand, everything that's been done in there is really agricultural in nature. The animals have to be fed, animals have to be bedded, and in the other aspects of that business, the point is that in order to survive, you have to expand certain things, but none of the things that he expanded on violated the zoning. Now, the point is that if it's zoning as an agricultural area, then that's agricultural. You can't say that agriculture is only if you grow things or if you raise animals, that's all that it is, because there's a lot more to agriculture. And if you watch the Pearsons, when they're working at 9 o'clock at night, there's more to agricultural things than just that. They're haying, they've got to do these things, and all farmers have to do that on every level. Across the street from me is an orchard. Kent Stowe is out there early in the morning spraying. There are things that he has to do. The Stowe's down the street, the horse farm that they have down the street. I mean, they've got, I was just in there counting, they've got almost 40 horses there, plus the orchard. The whole area is agricultural. So what I'm saying very simply is, I can tell you honestly that when Mr. Heinley died and the Sharon's took over, it was called Heinley's Feed and Grain. When Roger took over and he advertised, it was Roger's Feed and Grain. And so now does that actually mean that it's an agricultural thing, or is it, as the lawyer would want to suggest, oh no, that's business, that has nothing to do with agriculture? Well, I'm terribly sorry, but I think it has to do with agriculture.
Thank you. Anyone else? If there's no one else in the audience, then I have to check with Zoom. If there's anybody on Zoom that would like to speak, raise your hand. Yep. We have,
I left my voice up at St. Vincent Hospital, so you'll have to excuse me.
be careful.
Okay?
I was gonna go to Zoom. Mr. Pearson?
I want to give you a couple of dates. Dates.
Mr. Pearson, I think you're the oldest
Yeah.
one in here.
Robert Pearson, 342 West Main Street. I'd ask the board to consider this decision pending on some of these dates that I have here. Thomas Heinley bought the property from Cliff Harris on March 4th, 1954. That's way before any of these zoning laws came in effect. And so I would think the grandfather clause would permit his business even now because of the zoning laws that were in effect. He continued for many years till he passed away. And the property went up for auction, well, to a settler's estate. It went for bid, and my family bid on it. So we bought that property. And that was in 91. And we leased it with Roger after that. And since the time that he's had that business, he has run a perfect business. Clean, neat, perfect for that type of business. If you drive in that yard, there's nothing, no mess anywhere. And so, I just wanted to mention that fact that it's been there a long time, way before the zoning laws, and there were businesses there back then. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So my next thing is to get back to anyone on Zoom. Kevin, I don't think there's anybody that wants to talk. They're not raising their hand or anything? Okay, so there's nobody, for the record, nobody on Zoom wants to speak at the public hearing. How about Caleb? Drag you up here.
All right, I'll just go over how I came to my conclusion. I wasn't referencing the 10-year statute. I understand that applies to structures only. I'm referencing the 6-year statute. Unfortunately, I was unable to locate the original building permit for the building, but there's multiple building permits that list the building as a commercial use that go way beyond the 6-year statute of limitations. So
Did
that-
they even have permits back in 57, 58, 59?
Oh, he said it was 54.
I'm just asking, 50,
Unlikely. The building code didn't come into play until 1975, the statewide building code. Whether there was a local building code at that, in the 50s, I don't know.
probably not.
So you're talking about the permit for the building. Do you know what year the original, I know you can't find it, but do you know what year it was?
Only based on them saying 1958. I don't know if the construction started before 58 or was completed in 58. It's because the zoning came into play in Millbury in 57.
So I understand the argument on the building. Are you saying that your opinion also applies to the use? Are you separating those, or are you looking at those as one?
I'm looking at Chapter 48, Section 7, says that a use, if approved by a permit, the statute of limitations, legal or not, is up after 6 years. I have permits dating back to 2011 for commercial uses at that property issued by the town of Millbury.
So then is your opinion that any commercial use, or a use that that permit was specifically permitted for?
A commercial use that permit was specifically
And what do we know that that is? What use was
a retail store. It says a store right on the permit, it says a store. And we have a permit from Millbury Fire from 2011 where they're retailing Blue Rhino propane.
So, go ahead.
So you're saying that he could do a lot more than he does, if he chose to?
No, I think if he tried to expand beyond just a small retail store, he would need to appear before your board.
But as far as the items that would be for sale? Like, is it
I don't think it's necessarily the items, but the intensity of the use.
Okay.
I don't see that the intensity of the use has changed much.
So I have in front of me business certificates from the town of Millbury for this, to Roger Cormier, with his address at 50 South Oxford Road, for retail farm and garden supplies.
Yeah, I asked the clerk, I was hoping to find older ones than I did, but those are the only two that she was able to produce.
Okay. So I'm not sure. It's the first time I've ever seen these, but that's why I'm just asking, like, what's the purpose of this?
The business certificate is basically for tax purposes.
Okay.
DBA, doing business as.
Any other questions for David?
So I would like to ask him something. So your opinion remains as it was when you made the final decision, right? Does anything that happened here make you think that you did the wrong thing, or that the wrong thing was pursued, or are you happy with and satisfied and stand by it?
I have not changed my position.
Okay.
I don't mean to debate it with you, but do you think that the increase of tractor trailer trucks, 150 a year, is an excessive increase of the use, or did you take that into account?
I wasn't aware of the number of trailer trucks that go in and out of the business.
So if there's 150 a year, that's from January to December?
That's a year.
Well, I know, but sometimes people say
It's actually
during,
July to June.
during the year,
Fiscal.
but, right, but I'm just, you know what I'm getting at.
No.
In the 150 would be on the large scale, and 100 of those is my own truck bringing them in. I have probably less than 40 loads a year that an outside carrier would bring in. So it's me going to Maine and getting a load of shavings. It's me going to Canada and getting a load of hay.
But that's all retail stuff you're bringing in.
Yeah, if we don't sell that much stuff, mean, we won't survive. Our margins are razor thin on selling hay and shavings and wood pellets. It's just, for my daughter and I, we barely scratch out a living. But we do, and we love what we do.
May I say something?
You gotta come on.
You gotta come up, state your name and your address.
John Camuso, 6 Jakes Parkway. If you take Roger's numbers of 150 loads a year, divide that by 12, divide that by 4, that boils down to about 3 loads, 3.5 loads a week. Just to put that in perspective, and so everybody knew it in the room, simple math. I just don't feel that's a strong point to stand on for the person putting in the complaint. You boil it down, 3 loads a week, it's really not that much. And everything everybody else said tonight, I stand right behind. Roger's a hardworking guy. His lot is clean. He's not hurting anybody. There are far bigger offenders in this room.
And the noise is here, and it's only gonna get noisier. So try to stop it. You're not.
So, everybody's thinking. Mike, you got any questions before
No.
we? No?
Can I ask Caleb a question?
Yeah.
Provided that everything goes one way or another, so we're going to agree with what your decision is. That's what we're here. We're going to, they're appealing your decision. We're going to agree or disagree with the decision made.
Right.
If we disagreed with your decision, the alternative is what? He could come in for permits?
No. So Caleb's decision was to not enforce.
Right.
So if we agree with Caleb.
Right. That's the end of it.
They have choices from there, but that's the
Okay.
end of it for us. Would you
Okay.
agree, Caleb?
I would agree.
That's clear, okay.
Have you heard anything that would, if we remanded to you, that would make you reinvestigate and rethink your decision? Or are you still, even everything you've heard today, stand by your decision?
I stand by my decision.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Want to close the public hearing?
we could close the public hearing, or you could continue if you want to try to get more facts. If you want to get a town council opinion, we could continue just for that fact, just to get town council opinion based on what, everything was said today. There's a lot more information here now that wasn't in this packet from the public. That's the other option.
I'm personally satisfied with agreeing with the building inspector, that's why we have him. Otherwise, we might as well have counsel here instead of the building inspector.
That's an option if you continue. If not. I'm not sure if we close the public hearing, still continue and get an opinion.
I think you do it either way. But the public wouldn't be able to, you reopen the hearing if you wanted. But if you close the hearing and get town council's opinion, nobody can comment on it.
Right.
So I wouldn't do it that way. I would continue if someone's inclined to get town council's opinion and go from there. And actually, I'll make the motion. I move we continue the hearing and ask town council for its opinion on Attorney Lane's letter regarding the 10-year statute of limitation against uses. I understand I may be the only one that wants that, but if there's a second.
I'll second that, and I'd like to just modify one thing that Mr. Cobell had. If we could also get town council's opinion that, let's say we chose to vote against Caleb's decision, if there could be a delay in enforcing the cease and desist letter for, say, I don't know, 6 months to a year? Which, in theory, would give Mr. Pearson time to come in and seek a variance.
I see no problem asking town council that question.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Good question.
So if we voted,
So you gotta make another motion? Or do you want to just add that into the first?
Adding in the amendment to the motion, I think is what we should vote on.
Okay, so
Can I just ask why you wouldn't honor the building inspector's decision?
I'm not saying I would or I wouldn't. I'm inclined to honor what Caleb's conclusions are, but, you know, we also have zoning bylaws in this town, and at different times, members of the public, whether in this forum or other forums, have accused boards like this one of frankly just ignoring the zoning bylaws. So that's why I'm curious as to what town council's opinion would be.
I mean, this is a nuanced question of use versus structure, and I'm not saying I think Caleb's wrong, I just think we need guidance on that specific issue.
I think after listening to Mr. Pearson with the timeline that he gave, unless he's not right, and unless it's in there for the town council to hear it, everything that is in Mr. Lane's statement is to prove that they shouldn't have it, and not all the facts. So how is he going to justify the decision he gives? Because he's a lawyer, he made a wonderful case.
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Is Rogers, is the business open or is it closed?
It's open.
Oh, you're open. You're open for business.
So,
Okay.
so,
Can I, on the question that you're asking and Mr. Pearson brought up,
you gotta come up.
With the question you're asking about timing, and Mr. Pearson kind of answered a question that I've had the whole time. If you were to come to Rogers Farm Supply, the front of the store that had a porch on it was definitely an original building. The back half of that front store, the front of the store is actually sitting on pilings. There's no foundation under it. When I took it apart in 1991 and I was putting all new barn board in there, I kid you not, half of the studs were old cross ties from telephone poles. Okay? And then as I moved to the back building, which is all on concrete, where the 1958 is written, when I took those walls apart and I was putting them together, they all actually had real insulation that said Owens Corning new. We could open up a wall and you would see that definitely does not have the same insulation that the front building. In the front building, you can actually see that the chimney that is now in the middle of the building in any of the pictures used to be outside. So that makes really good sense when Bob said he bought it in 1954. In the addition that is on the interactive map would have been the one that he permitted in 1958. So that clearly would put it before the zoning laws.
I understand what you're saying, part of the, and I think Attorney Lane might say what I'm about to say.
Oh.
No, no, that's good, thank you.
Let me just follow up. I don't want to make this any more complicated than it already is, but I think Mr. George's comments are well taken. I don't think there's any doubt that whether it's 1954, 1958, 1991, they weren't selling pellets. So that aspect clearly is not a pre-existing non-conforming use. Feed and grain, great. Maybe that is a pre-existing use. But I think the solution here is, as Mr. George has suggested, to allow them to file a request for a special permit to change the pre-existing non-conforming use to include the uses that are currently there. And the reason I say that is, as I said before, it's not our intention to put the business out of business, but it's a nuisance. If they apply for a special permit, that gives this board the opportunity to put in conditions like no backup alarms after a certain hour, deliveries are going.
Sir, you can't act out like that in public, in a meeting.
Deliveries are going to be, in times and days that are appropriate. But in any event, will allow this board an opportunity to put on conditions that will ensure that the operation can continue, but will not be a nuisance to its neighbors. I think that's, a fair resolution. I think that's what the gentleman was suggesting, and I think that's a way that we can accommodate everybody's interest and allow the business to continue and not be a nuisance.
I think that's the point I was trying to make when I asked if we denied him, could we permit him anyway?
Yes, that's right. If you deny him, he can apply for a special permit, and you can grant a special permit, and then you can put in conditions. And I think that's the ideal solution that allows the business to continue and allows it not to be a nuisance.
So we could still agree with the building inspector's decision, and he could still come in and further get that to seal this up.
Caleb, talk.
I can pretty much
Through the
assure-
chair.
Hold on one second.
I
Go
just
ahead,
have a
Caleb.
question. I believe the applicant's stance was this is not an existing non-conforming use. So are they now conceding that it is an existing non-conforming use? Because it would have to be to apply for a special permit.
Yeah, it would,
Then when the year 1954 came up, it did.
I'm
Yes.
not tracking the special permit either. I'm not sure how you get the special permit for a use that's not allowed in the zone.
Extension of an existing non-conforming use could be,
You can
but they would
modify
have to
it.
be, they would have to be conceding that it is an existing non-conforming use.
You're allowed to modify a pre-existing non-conforming use.
But do you understand his point?
I understand his point,
Okay.
and we can raise that or we cannot raise that. And I'm suggesting to you that as we stand here, we can ignore that, and you can act on the testimony that you receive, and you're allowed to accept that testimony, and you can proceed accordingly.
I would make a recommendation. I don't know any of them. I just lived in Millbury since '64, if anybody wants to know. And I want to agree with Mr. Caleb over there, Rudy. And then I'll say, if you want, in my opinion, this is my opinion, take it to court, and if they lose, we can bring them back and do just what you just said. If you want to spend the money, because
No, I don't think that's what he's saying.
No, because you're going to end up going to court over this, right?
I suspect that there's a high probability.
Right, okay.
So that will mean that the town's going to spend some money,
Either way, you're going to go to court with it.
and Roger's going to spend a lot of money. So,
And then if he gets denied in court, he has to come back here for those permits.
exactly. So we're suggesting you short-circuit the process, save everybody a lot of money, and make it legitimate.
I think it's legit already.
So the question is, okay, so
Yep.
my question to Caleb. This is, not sure if it's like a hypothetical question, because my question is, they rescind this application and go away. Rogers comes in and gets a use variance or a special permit. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yes.
Are you willing to withdraw your application tonight?
What do you think? Because
I'm
then
not
you have
sure that needs to happen. First, we don't even know whether the property owner is willing to apply for a special permit. I think that's a threshold question. And if he is, I think we could table this issue, raise that one, and then resolve this at a later,
But do we have to go through application process?
they would have to apply for a special permit.
Right. And then come back at another meeting?
Everybody we're applying to is in this room right now.
I know, but
So the
there's,
stress of worrying about whether my business is going to get shut down at 34 years, I don't know, where would I restart? How do I get back 34 years of my life?
I mean, our hands are tied. We have one decision to make tonight. I mean, we can't now issue a special permit if there's a process we have to follow. That's how our hands are tied. There's a gentleman in the.
One sec, Miss Lane, I got a person raising his hand over there. If you want to continue talking, I can let him come up, but you're up there already.
I'll be happy to do that, but as I say, I think the suggestion that this board can continue its hearing, we're willing to extend whatever time we need to allow somebody to apply for a special permit so that there's no prejudice to anybody, and go forward. I think that's, the reasonable solution, because if you decide you're going to uphold the building inspector's decision, we appeal it, and everybody's going to spend a lot of money, and it's going to be all or nothing. And he's, obviously, in my position is that he's going to be the defendant in the case. He's going to spend, $5,000, $10,000 on legal fees, and he has a good chance of losing the business and everything. So why do you take that risk? Why don't you apply for the special permit? We basically told you we're not going to oppose it as long as there's reasonable conditions in there that make sure it's not a nuisance. He wins for $300. Why would you risk the business and the money on those conditions? It makes no sense.
It don't make no sense what you're doing.
What's that?
By challenging this, like, if we should honor the building inspector's decision. This is the first time, I think, that we've ever had to come down to the point where we brought him in, and this is the first time we have to decide whether we agree with what he has been doing all along.
Well, I'm willing to admit that we all make mistakes occasionally. Okay.
Are we allowed to talk
So-
amongst ourselves right now?
No, well, no, it's
We
okay.
gotta wait until we close.
So, Adam, kind of following Mr. Lane, and
It's all going to depend on whether there's going to be an application for a special permit from the owner of the property. The owner of the property has to approve the permit, the application.
It almost sounds like you're running him out right now. Sounds like he's wanting to give up.
I don't see that.
Well, we don't have to whipsaw the Pearsons tonight.
Agreed.
We could continue it to give them a chance to give this some thought
My
as
motion
to
is
how
pending.
they want to.
Right.
And in the meantime, that'll give town council a chance to issue an opinion for us. So I'd say a 90-day continuance?
We have a time limit.
Okay.
You can't
Not
do
if
90.
the applicant agrees.
If he agrees to extend it to the end of
Is
the year or
90
something?
days acceptable for?
So, just so I'm hearing, because everybody's talking at the same time, I'm trying to reiterate what Ms. Helene is saying. He's basically doesn't want to put him out of business, doesn't want to go to court, doesn't want to expend all this money, and is basically going to back off, correct? And allow Mr. Pearson, the landowner, and Rogers Farm and Seed to confer amongst themselves and to come back in front of this board down the road for a special use permit? All right. Is that how I'm reading that?
My understanding would be that town council would issue their opinion.
Right.
In 90 days, we'd be in front, if an application hasn't been received by then we decide it. That's my opinion.
Okay.
If they want to play ball, then they file a special permit application in the meantime.
Through the chair,
Yes.
if the board's going to reach out to town council, could we get an opinion on what the expansion of the current use would be? Because it seems like the current use has been unchanged for many years.
I agree.
So I just want to make sure the special permit process is the right process to follow, because if there's no expansion of the pre-existing non-conforming use, the special permit's not required.
I don't think there's any doubt that pellets weren't being sold in 1958.
They've been being sold since 1996.
Stop that.
Yeah, you guys can't go back and forth.
So the motion is to.
Hold on one second.
The motion is to continue the hearing for 90 days. In the meantime, we were going to request an opinion from town council on the applicability of the structure versus the use on the 10-year statute of limitations. Whether the use has been expanded in that time. And Michael, what was the third?
Whether if we chose to negate Caleb's opinion, whether we could delay enforcement of the cease and desist for some period of time,
So those
what
three
the
issues.
maximum would be.
So you got that motion on the table?
Yeah. I would re-second it if.
I
Hold
do.
on, all right, hold on, we'll do that, but one person raised their hand. Sir, you want to come up and talk? There's two. Okay, he can come first, or whoever's, doesn't matter.
One thing I believe you gotta check out here, and I would side with the building inspector. If this goes back to 1954, where there's no zoning, and there was no interruption in this business, they do not need any special permits. They should still be able to operate under the present statute.
Sir?
Robert Pearson, 20 South Oxford Road. The wood pellets are absolutely an essential agricultural product, and we use those for bedding of whether the cows and other people buy the pellets as bedding for their horses or the chickens. So the thing about the wood pellets is ridiculous.
Okay, thank you. So, based on that last comment from Mr. King, is that something we should get
I
an
agree with
opinion on?
I think that's included in the question we're asking
Okay.
about the use versus the structure.
Okay, so, we have a motion.
I second it.
We have to do a roll call vote.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
So that's three. Two. So that comes to, is it supposed to be a 4? It passes.
I believe simple majority is required for
On that one,
continuance.
okay, yeah. Need a date.
November 26th would be our November meeting.
Let me just check on that, because that's around the holiday, so it might be the week before.
Oh, you're right, that might be the day before Thanksgiving.
Right, that won't be, that we won't
You guys
have
coming
one.
that day?
We won't have one that day.
Yeah.
Or Christmas. We have to go the week before.
So the 19th.
Yes. Do we need to make it 90 days out?
Well, we did, that was part of the motion.
Okay. Okay, so the date would be November 19th.
Wait for Caleb to check.
He's going to see if there's anybody else in this room. We have to make sure we have this conference room on that date. We typically meet the last Wednesday of every month. Caleb, is
November 19th.
Is this room available?
Yeah, the meeting's scheduled for November 19th.
Oh, it is scheduled already, okay. Okay, so now we gotta make a motion to continue, or you already made that motion, so. I guess we can adjourn.
Can I, before you do, can I ask the building inspector, does that mean operations remain until that date and time?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
I haven't issued any orders to cease and desist.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call. Come up quick, because we're just closing this out.
I'm a Grafton boy. My name's John Kaczynski. I live at 30 School Street. And I've lived here since '92. And since I've moved into town, I've never met a harder-working individual as Roger is. people call him, can I come up and pick it up? Well, I was gonna close. He bends over backwards to help people, to keep customers happy. And that's like I don't know, that's something a community should sort of say, we can't afford to lose this. This is old school at its finest. And to me, from what I'm seeing or hearing, it was okay, people, you gotta make hay type of thing, the old sayings, you gotta make hay when you, he does it. And if it's a slight inconvenience to people in the neighborhood, I haven't seen many of them complain. I haven't seen anybody complain about it.
Right, but the complaint from the applicant is about the use.
The technicality,
in the zoning bylaws.
Right, the new laws,
So-
but old school. Old school, it was old school.
I understand.
And nobody complained about, because she's making money. And now, she's not doing that anymore. Now, Roger's the target. And I've seen it over the years that Roger's done moment's notice for people. And-
Right.
And I support him. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm starving. That's why I'm missing a Red Sox game. I mean, seriously. And I just don't, where's the benefit to
No,
the town if
we
Roger
fully,
gets out of
we
here? That's
fully
all I'm
under-
asking.
we fully understand. Thank you very much.
Can I say one more thing? I know
You gotta come up.
You may appreciate this story because it has to do with the town hall, and I'm sure every one of you know him. Do you all know Dave Mattson? Dave Mattson was the town clerk in 1991 when I started to rent the store, or I was about to rent the store from Mr. Pearson. And I came down the town hall, like I'm supposed to, and I sat down with Dave Mattson. And I said, "Hey, Dave." He said, "You're the guy who hauls hay up on South Oxford Road." And I said, "Yes, I am." He says, "What can I do you for?" I said, "I want to reopen Hinley's place and sell grain and sell hay." He said, "That's great. We need that." Next thing, I said, "What do you need from me?" And then Dave Mattson's, the town clerk of this town, said, "Did you get the keys from Bob?" And I said, "Yes, I did." He said, "You're all set with us." That was as old school as it can be. Mr. Bob Pearson and myself, we shook hands on this in 1991. That handshake has never changed. What John just said, that's how I run my business every single day. And after 34 and a half years, I'm going to get maybe pushed out. I take customers that come in the door, they forgot their money. Don't worry about it. Come back next time. You know what? You're running late from work. We'll leave it outside. Pay us next time you get there. We've run that business every single day, and now that business is at risk, all because of one person. A person that's running a business and has run a business for 33 years, less than 200 yards away, that is a nothing short of a hazard to this community, but yet I'm jumping through all the hoops. Nobody's looking into it, and it's ridiculous. All you have to do is Google it and see what's going on that property and ask yourself, why would somebody who's doing this be after a guy that keeps a place like mine? As Mr. Pearson said, John said, I keep that place immaculate, and I have forever. I appreciate what I do, and I appreciate this town. I don't appreciate what I'm going through now, not because of any of you, but because of her. She's the only reason we're all here tonight.
Thank you. Okay, no more calls, no more. Roll call vote. Mike?
Aye.
Bob?
Was this to close the meeting?
Yes, to adjourn. Chairman, aye. Harold? Adam, aye. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.